All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming, and I've got a good news, bad news type of situation for you. The good news is I pretty much have the program working. The bad news is I made tons of changes and I didn't tape while I was making the changes. So what I'm going to do is go over those changes with you right now. And I tried as much as I thought I should, at least, to go back and take those changes and make comments there. Now, the first thing is for all the employee types. So we're talking hourly employees. I did not have a first name and last name in there. That's why it wasn't being written to the database. For the commission worker, I did not have first name and last name, so it wasn't being written to the database. For piece worker, I did not have first name and last name, so it was not being written to the database. And for salaried, same thing. So I added all of those. When I added those, I had to come back and I had to come in here and make new migrations. So I did. I made a lot of migrations that are in here. This is the most migrations I've ever made towards a database. But that's those. All right, let's take a look at some of the rest of the stuff that's in here. Okay, I'm going to start with the DB context. I don't think I've really changed. That isn't true. I've changed some in here. But you can see I tried to comment the bejeebers out of this. What was added in here, because it was not in here before, is for each employee type in here, I had to add, where are you? Well, these were the entities, so I didn't add anything in here, but I want to show you where I did add something. Okay, so let's look at this. This, I had to make sure, I think I mentioned this before, this is wrong. This should be payroll database ASP. All right, so, I'm in, wood gravy, I'm in EFCore01. Oh, boy. So let me close all these. Let me close everything. Good gravy. I hope what I changed was the right stuff. All right. Okay, let me just close everything. How about that? These are correct. All right, this is the stuff from PayCore EF2. And the good news is, if you'd call it that, is since now I've got the right one up here, I'll make sure that I've got everything written in here the way it should be. All right, these are the ones I did change. So in the EF context here, I had to add gross pay. I did not have that in the first iteration. It is in there now for both hourly, commission, piece worker, and I didn't have to for salary because there's no, or did I put it in here? I want to be sure. I want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing every time. So these are the common properties. So every employee has an ID, a first name, and a last name. All right, but for the derived tables, hourly employees have an hourly rate, an hours worked, and a gross pay. Piece workers have a price per piece and a gross pay. Commission workers have a commission percentage, a sales amount, and a gross pay. Salaried workers just have the gross pay. Technically, I didn't even have to do this because it is the salary, but it's okay. All right, for this context factory, I did change this, and that's what it had to be. I want to make sure I'm writing to the correct database, and I am. All right, so that's everything in data. I've already shown you the stuff that changed in the models. I had to add the first name and the last name to commission employees, hourly employees, piece worker employees, and salaried employees. Okay? Maybe I could have just added it to the employee DB abstract. I didn't do it that way. All right, again, I've got a lot of migrations in here. And I'm going to run this for you in just a minute. But first, I want to go over the two form files. All right, so this is FRM Startup. You can see it has changed. All right, the clock was just going off there. So I made it smaller, and this is going to be the message, which I have updated. This is the drop-down list where I can choose either hourly, hourly piece worker, commission, or salaried. When I click this, it brings up and it fills the other form up, but it fills it up either as an hourly worker form, as a piece worker form, as a commission worker form, or as a salaried worker form. This will give you the chance to close or end the program. So when you look in here, like I said, what did I do? I changed the writing in here and updated it. There's different ways we could have done this. I could have actually probably put this into a file, brought the file in. It's totally fine what we did here. This populated, as it says, the combo box. This set the default to the first one, which is hourly. Now, when we show the other form, first thing we do is we check to make sure something was selected. If there was nothing selected, all right, you get an error message. Otherwise, we're going to create the new form. But we have to make sure, and this was the first time we've done this, we pass in whatever was selected for the drop-down combo box. Okay, so you'll notice if I run this, I'm not going to show you the whole big run yet, but if I run this and I don't have anything in here, and I click this, it says you must select one of the 4 employee types. All right, that's from right here. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go over to the other one. So this is, I'm sorry, that was the startup. Here's the other one. I cut down the size of it. I think it looks a little nicer like this. You may agree, you may disagree. Either way, totally fine. But there it is. I think, like I said, it looks a little bit nicer than it did. Okay? So these will automatically be filled in if we have any records in here and we click on anywhere in the record, it'll fill in that record's first name, last name. If it's an hourly employee, their hours worked, an hourly rate. If it's a commission employee, the commission percentage and the sales amount. If it's a piece worker employee, the number of pieces made and the price per piece. And for salaried, just the salary up here, and the other one will be left blank. All right. Also, we've got the gross pay here. I don't remember if I've actually filled this in or not. We're going to see in just a minute. It might be something I left off. When you click Add Record, it's going to attempt to add a new record into the data grid view. Update supposes that you've already chosen a record here, and it'll try to make the updates. Delete, same kind of thing. All right, so let's take a look at the code for that, because there's a lot of it. There was originally 550 lines, and fortunately, unfortunately, whatever you want to say, now there's 720 plus lines. And I've tried to comment again the bejeebers out of this thing. So there's a lot of comments in here. So let's just go through this from the top. All right, I don't know why. Let's see once, make sure. Why that says using PayCore EF1. I don't know why I've got that in there. All right, but it looks like it's using something from there, and I'm not sure why. All right, the two of the things that are in here, two routines, the add routine and the update routine, both need some constants. All right, maximum hours worked and overtime rate. So I put them there. This is what we passed in. We pass in in here something we call type, and we immediately set the employee type to that type that was passed in. All right. Then in our load event, you can see what we're doing here. We are turning off, not of, off auto-generate columns. We wanted the column order to be set manually, because if we didn't, it was not setting it the way I wanted. It was putting in stuff I didn't want put in there. Next, we set up the labels in the text boxes based on the employee type that we put in there. So this configure correct employee labels and boxes, it's down here, way down here. And what's it doing? Let's see, where are we? Nope, that's update. That's delete, so it's got to be down below that. It's one configure. Let's fill in the text boxes. Finish the job, reset the text boxes. All right, what was this called again? I want to go through all this with you. So if this is a longer video, sorry about that in advance. All right, so F configure correct. Oh, it's right below this. Wonder I couldn't find it. So this says if it's hourly, we want to set these text boxes and make them both visible. If it's piece worker, we want to set this and make everything visible. If it's commission, set this and make it visible. If it's salary, we want to set this, but we don't want label 2 or text box 2 to be visible because there's only one row or one field in there. Then we call configure grid columns. All right, what is that doing? Exactly what it says. It's designed to clean up the look and feel of the program. First, we clear the data grid view. Then, as it says, we add columns to the data grid view. Each column has a name property, a data property name, and associated header text. So this is letting it know in code what we want to call this. This is what's actually going to appear in there. And if you notice, it's a little nicer to have first space name, last space name, etc. All right? All right. And then, come on, get back up there. All right. So then after that, we call load corresponding records. And again, that is loading everything up, like I said. So that is going to load everything, all of that type of records into the data grid view. Okay. And then finally, we call fill in the text boxes. All right. So let's take a look at each one of the routines. And what I mean is the add record, the update record, and the delete record. There really is, this is a CRUD application, but the read part of it's coming up naturally from the way we set it up. So I set it up as, rather than doing everything under the click event for any of these, for BTN add record, BTN delete record, and BTN update record, for all of those, I've set them up so that rather than putting the code in there, what I'm doing is I'm putting the code in another routine. All right. That way, if I were to come back and add menu options, it'd make it a little easier. So what are we doing in here? Well, as it says, we're switching on the employee type. We're saying for an hourly employee, we're setting the first name, last name, hours worked, and hourly rate based off of what was put into the text box. Then we are calculating the gross pay based on those values. We are basically getting it ready to add to the database. And we're doing the same type of thing for any of our types of workers. So piece worker, the thing that's different here, of course, are the fields that are added and the way that we're figuring out gross pay. Same with commission worker and same with salaried worker. All right, I've got this thing at the bottom of these routines that's called finish the job. That actually does the save by calling the save changes method. It refreshes the data grid view, all right, and it refreshes it so it shows the newly added record or the newly updated record or the newly deleted record, or doesn't show that one. And then it clears all the text boxes in the form. And then we've got the show message, which is a generic routine written, so it can just give a message based on that. Update, what are we doing? Well, when we update, if there isn't anything chosen, we're just saying no record was selected. Otherwise, we're calling update existing record. We have to first find out what record it is, so we're grabbing whatever record we may have clicked on, we're grabbing its ID. Again, then if it's an hourly, we're setting up an hourly object, and why is this in here? This, if no record was selected, return, that actually should not be here. That should be up here. There. So we switch on employee type. We create the employee object. All right, we fill in the first name, the last name, the hours worked, and the hourly rate. Again, we're making sure we convert those two to decimal. All right. Again, if the hourly rate was the same kind of thing we did before, I could have taken this probably and put it into a calculate routine, but I didn't. All right. Piece worker, the same kind of thing. Commission worker, salary worker, the same kind of thing. Now in here, this is the newly updated record. All right. And we get that message. For delete, it's a little bit simpler because what we do is we get the ID and then we say, are you sure you want to delete the record? If they don't say yes, we just return. I like to put these things inside of curly braces. Didn't have to do that, but I like putting it in there anyway. All right. If it's hourly, we find the ID. If we did find one, we remove it. Same thing for piece worker. Okay. Same thing for commission worker. Same thing for salaried worker. Again, there are ways it's probably could be much improved and cut down on the code. All right. We're going to say here, not show the deleted record. All right. And then these configuring all these columns I already went over with you. I had to make sure I went back in and added the gross pay column, and I might as well format it right away as well. Now we could do, and I just thought of this right now, let's see, we've got the default cell style. We could have probably taken the commission percentage and made it a percentage. All right, so it showed like that. I'm going to leave it the way it is. All right, fill in the text boxes is pretty simple. Notice there's a question mark there, and what that question mark basically means is if it's null, don't give me any kind of error warning. All right, so we have the common fields. This fills in the text boxes accordingly. So it's going to bring in the first name and the last name, and then it's on the employee type. It's either going to bring in the hours worked and the hourly rate. If it's an hourly employee, the piece is made and the price per piece. If it's a piece worker, the commission percentage and the sales amount. If it's a commission worker, and the salary, if it's a salaried worker. Finish, there's a lot more comments here than actual code. There's only 3 lines of code. Finish the job says persist the new record by adding it to the database by calling save changes. As it says, this generates the required insert statement or update statement or delete statement. All right. It sends that statement to the SQL server, and then it stores, it makes the change. All right. So again, I'm going to just leave the comments the way they are. Reset text boxes is pretty simple. just set the, make all the text boxes empty and set the focus to the first one. This show message, again, as it says, is a generic routine that was written to take in a message and a title and print out the information. So I'm going to try something now. I have not tried to run it since I made all these changes, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to save. I am going to close this, and I'm going to run the program. Now, in its current form, I didn't have first name and last name in the database. I want to say that again. I did not have first name and last name in the database. What I'm going to do for each one of these is I'm going to remove all the records. So I'm going to click on here, delete record, yes. And there's the message that said it was successfully deleted. Delete this one, yes, successfully deleted. Delete this one, yes, it was successfully deleted. All right, and I'm going to add hourly employees. So let's add me. And let's say that I make $50 an hour and I work for 20 hours. Should give me $1,000 in here if I did it right. So let's add the record. And there I am. Everything appears to be correct. Now, if this looks bad, we can cut down these sizes here. And now you can see everything. All right, let's add one more employee here. I'll add my wife. And of course, she works more hours than I do, and she should make more money than I do as well. All right, so let's add her. And her overtime was even calculated. All right, let's add one more record. We're just going to call this dummy record. And we'll make sure that that was 10 here and 10, which should be $100. All right, now let's remove this one. Notice it filled in. I'm not going to update anything. I'm going to delete it, and it's gone. All right, my wife's, let's make our real full names in here. I'm Jeffrey, and let's update that. If I'd have clicked add there, it would have added a new record, and I didn't want that. And my wife's real first name is Sandra. So let's update that. And it looks like everything has worked. Notice they're 9 and 10, and we removed record 11. All right, let's go back here, and let's try another type. So this is piece worker. I'm going to, again, remove these. They're, they don't have the names in there. Well, it looks like they do, and that's okay, but I'm going to remove them anyway. And I'm going to add 2 new records. All right. We'll add 3, actually. So let's add, I'll add John Smith. And John made 50 pieces and gets $1 per piece. All right. There it is. And he made $50. All right. And John's wife, Mary, also works there. And it looks like in here I've got to go back and change my tab order, and I'll do that in a moment. And let's say that she made 100 pieces, and she gets 37 cents per piece. All right, there's her stuff. Let's add another dummy record. And we'll just say one piece, and they make 20 cents. And there that is. Now let's get rid of that one. So we removed record 11, and we removed record 14. All right. Let's go back here, and for John Smith, let's say that he didn't make 50, he made 55 pieces. We'll update, and he's up to $55. And let's say for Mary Smith, let's say she now makes 97 cents for each piece, and she made 88 pieces. We'll update that, and she is now at 85.36, it looks like. All right, so those first 2 look like they worked just fine. All right, let's go to the third one here. That's the commission worker. We're going to get rid of this one. And let's add a couple. So again, we'll add, let's make Barney Rubble. And Barney's commission percentage, we're going to say is 0.25. And he sold $10,000 worth of stuff. So if we did this right, it should be $2,500. All right, it looks like I'm not filling in the gross pay there, so I'll have to work on that too. But everything worked. All right. And this gross pay is $25. That does not look correct. So there is a mistake in there. That should not be, that should be $250. So there's a mistake. We'll have to work on that in a minute. Okay, but let's do Wilma Flintstone. And let's do Betty Rubble. How's that? And let's say that Betty, her percentage is 0.3, and she made $1,000 of sales. Yeah, that's definitely a mistake in my math there. All right, let's add one more dummy record. And let's say that their percentage is 0.2, and they made $1,000. All right, we'll add that record. Now let's get rid of that one. So we removed 11, 14, and 17. For Barney, let's change that to Bernard. And update. And you can see that it was changed for Betty. Let's change her percentage to 0.29 and update it. And that was changed as well. So everything's working, but what I have to do is check the tab order, number one. Number two, I have to make sure that the gross pay is put in here as well. All right, that's on my to-do list. So finally, let's do the last one, which is our salaried worker. All right, let's get rid of B. Taylor there, and we'll add two more. So we'll add Andy Taylor, and let's say that he makes 7777.77. And we'll add the record. There it is. And let's do Opie Taylor. And we'll say he makes 67890.12. Add him. That worked. Let's add another dummy record. And we'll say their salary is 1223, whatever. Add that. There is the dummy record. Let's remove the dummy record. So we removed 11, 14, 17, and 20. And let's change here. Let's change Andy to Andrew. And it's been updated. And for Opie, let's change his salary to 9 and update. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you in here before I go back and try to fix those things I mentioned, let me show the other form. Let's exit and say yes. That if we go and look in here now, I'm going to go back to my databases and I'm going to refresh. All right, then I'm going to bring up each one of these databases because I want you to see them. So here's hourly. Whoops, here's hourly. There. So I'm going to view the data. Oh my goodness, it's still not showing in here. And it should have been showing these now, and it's not. Third thing I have to do. All right. Well, if it's not showing in here, it's probably not showing in any of these. It is not. All right. It should be, but I'm not sure why it's not, but it is not. So I'll have to fix that. All right, let's go back into here. And what we want to do in here is we want to go in and view the tab order. Okay, this is all kind of hose it up. So this is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. This is a read-only field. You can't put 4 there, it won't hurt anything. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Why did I do that? I want to show you why I did that. So File, Save All. Now what I should be able to do, and I should have done another View tab order on here to make that, well, it'll work, but anyway. I don't know if they'll still be showing in here or not. Okay. So now notice if I tab through, tab, 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 tab. That's a lot nicer. All right, so that's the first thing. Let's take a look at the other things that we have to fix in here. So View, tab order. All right, and we had a problem in here. So I'm going to have to go back to my code, and I want to go back to where I'm figuring out the gross pay for a commission employee. So let me stop this. All right. All right. So there's the ad record. All right. I don't think I have to divide that by 100 because I put it in as like 0.3 or whatever. I'm going to leave it like that, run it again, and see if that fixes it. All right, so File, Save All. Let's run it one more time. What I want to see is if this, I want to see how smart this is or is not. All right, it did not change these records for Barney and Betty, but let's just do this. We'll bring up Barney again. All right, 25% of this. Let's update it. And now notice $2,500. It is the right calculation. We'll do that for Betty as well. So this should be 290. That's 29% of 1,000. And that is right. So those have been fixed. Again, I can now tab through here in the right order. So that has been fixed as well. Now I'm going to have to go back, and the only thing I can think of that I still have here that's an error is I'm not writing the stuff out to the database, the first name and the last name. I don't know why for the life of me. All right, I'm going to try to fix that. And then when I come back, it's time to try to take this entire program here and convert it into an ASP.NET application. That'll involve first me talking about a little bit what ASP.NET is. Second, making sure that I can come up there and find some place to put this out on the internet for free. And then finally showing you the steps involved in hopefully doing that. So I'll be back with that. That's the next thing that I'm going to do shortly. I'll see you then.